Page 43, key of E minor. As I said before, in the key of C, we learned the relative minor scale A minor. And the relative minor scale is built on the 6th degree of the major scale. Remember, C, and then we had A minor. And then we had 3 different types of minor scales. We had the natural minor, which is the C scale starting in A minor. We had harmonic minor, which raises to 7th. And we had the melodic minor that raises to 6th and 7th, going up the scale, and coming down, we're playing natural minor. We have just played the key of G, a number of exercises throughout this book, and now we're going to play what is the 6th degree of G, E. We're going to play an E minor scale, which uses the same notes as the G major scale. E natural minor, first line. Listen to it again. Sounds like Johnny Ringo. E harmonic minor has the raised 7th, which is D sharp. Melodic minor has the raised 6th and 7th going up, C sharp and D sharp, and coming down we're playing the natural minor. It is a good thing to go back and play scales every day. So right now you know the C major scale, the F major scale, the G major scale, and you also know the C major scale with the relative minor, A minor, which would be natural minor, harmonic minor, melodic minor, and also the related E minor scale to G major. So you can play E natural minor, E harmonic minor, and E melodic minor. Here is the exercise 1 for the rhythm accompaniment on page 43. I'll play it without a metronome. I'll just keep a steady tempo right now. 1, 2, 3. Think of the melody as the lowest notes and having them ring for all the what is shown here, mostly 3 beats. Here we have a little different. We have a different C chord than we've played before. We've been mostly playing this C chord, and we're adding the G on top. And you notice we're keeping G on top for the G diminished, so we have. The hardest part of this tune is in the first ending, where you have 1, 2, 3, 1, G7, B7. getting that smooth. When you're playing that B7, think of your fourth finger going to G and your third finger going to C. I'll play that first ending again. I think this is the first time we're coming across this. We're having a first and second ending. Again, it's like a roadmap and a shortcut to writing this piece twice. Really what it is that you go and play the first line into the second line, and if you notice we have this bracket first ending, and at the end of the first ending there's a double bar and a repeat sign, meaning that you go back to the beginning. When you play it the second time, we skip and not play the first ending, and we go right into the second ending. So instead of writing this 4 lines, we're able to keep this on 2 lines and not have this book more than 300 pages. We can keep this as a shortcut to writing this music. So we're playing beginning. There's the second ending. Good. In exercise 2, this is just an exercise to get the waltz feel and to try and get these chords smooth, and also to try and have space between beats 2 and 3. A waltz, it many times has the short second and third beats. 1, 2, 3. I'm using E chord. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. When I make it short, it almost automatically gets accented. So it's bop, 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 bop. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Playing an E chord and having the chord short is a difficult thing. I know that in the beginning of the book it says that you can use your right hand. That's a little tedious to keep a steady beat and continuous at a fairly moderate tempo. So what I do is I take my left hand and I flatten it. It's much easier when you're fingering every note and not playing open strings to control that. But right now I'll play exercise 2, and with my left hand I will try and stop as much of the chord as possible so we have that feeling of long, short, short, long, short, short. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. First, try and get the chords nice and smooth, and then work on the release and the stopping of the chords. Page 44, Take Your Pick, duet. Again, pick is in the title, so this again is a good picking exercise of alternate picking. Here's part 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. As we had in our previous duet, we have a chord preparation for part 1. At the beginning, we have and then the next measure, the next measure, okay. Try and play these slowly. These come up in our arpeggiated chords. Yes, that's F, C sharp, and B flat. Then F sharp and D play together while holding the F sharp. As you can see, this piece is cut in half. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 measures, and then it's the theme happens again. This theme of when playing this piece, it's really nice to try and hear the chords in these arpeggios. The first measure, what does that remind you of? That's C, F, C. So we're hearing back to C chord. Some notes, back to C chord. This is a type of a G7. Then you have your C, notes in C. Back to C chord, F, C. Next measure, we have a C chord, G7. Then we have an F chord. The next chord you probably don't know yet, but it's an F sharp diminished. C chord. We're hearing some type of a C7 there, going to F. This is a sounding of a B flat minor chord. Getting back to the C scale with an extra note. C, F, C, and it continues on just like that. That A section repeats pretty much. In the any of these arpeggios, you're playing the whole chord and trying to have all the notes ring. Whenever you have that curved line over a bunch of notes, that means to hold all the notes, to try and ring out through those. Actually, in this, it's 2 beats and actually 1 beat. In the next to the last measure, you have the C, G, B, F. And as a reminder, I'm not playing the retards because I'm playing both parts and trying to keep the tempo for each so that you can practice everything in tempo, and then you can practice playing it with a retard, a slowing down at the end. Here's part 2. Part 2, the hardest part with part 2 at first is not playing for 4 measures. The not playing is not the hard part. The coming in on the end of 1 in the 5th measure, it takes a lot of concentration. Here is part 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. It feels pretty funny sitting there for 4 measures not playing, but it's a good practice to keep the tempo, to know where you are. When you're playing this piece with the first part, you'll see how everything fits. So practice this counting, because not only playing the notes in the right spot is the important part, but also not playing notes in the right spot is an important part of music. The entrance that you have on the end of 1 at the in the 5th measure, again, we're going to practice coming in on the and with an up stroke. The syncopation that you have from B3 is 3 and 4 and 3 and 4 and. Make sure that is clear and that you're using 3 down and the 3 up and the and the 4 upstroke going into 1. Here's that measure. 3, 4, 1. Again, you will always be planning what's coming next. So that's what practice is about. It's not like you're surprised by every note that's coming up. You know what's coming next. You're prepared. You play it in time and musically. Make sure all the half notes are held and whole notes are held for the complete time that is stated in the music. And now practice part 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. The bottom of page 45 talks about rhythm accompaniment with movable chords. Anything on the guitar that is fretted or played without open strings is movable. You take these 2 notes and you move them. That's movable. You play this chord, you play it here, that is immovable, not movable. You have to have everything pressed down in order to move a chord. In other words, if we know this F chord, no open strings, and we know that F is on the first string, and we're playing that as an F chord, if we move the whole form to where G is on the first string, that's a G chord, A chord, B, C. That is what we say where the root is. We always find where the root is on a movable chord. If I were to play bar F like this, I think of the lowest note as the root. That's F, A flat, B flat. If we know a minor chord, F minor, we can move it around, G minor. So on the bottom of the page, we have F major to G minor. Now it says what we have on the bottom of those chords are Roman numerals. Those throughout the book will tell us what fret to play these chords. If we use this F chord, that's in the first fret. G minor is in the third fret. A minor is in the fifth fret. Yes, we know this A minor, but we're going to use the same movable chord form to the fifth fret for A minor. And where would A flat minor be? A fret below it. Where would F be here? Where would F sharp be? Or G flat. So I will now play this exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4. A minor, same form, same form. Now we play the G flat. We played a number of different chords with just two different forms. The major form that we know and the minor form. So it's really one way you can look at this. If you know a movable chord form, you know F sharp, G, G sharp, A, B flat, B, C, all the way up. What you need to also know is how to spell the chords after a while. But these forms will help you get around the instrument and play in different keys. As long as you know where the root is, you can move these forms around. From this point on, all the chord forms that we're going to be looking at are going to be movable. Page 46, we're going to talk and play the chromatic scale. Chromatic scale is like looking at the piano and playing one note after each other. C, C sharp, black note, D, D sharp, E, F. And we're going to include the whole first position. Not even looking at the music. The chromatic scale consists of all half steps. So if we're going to E, we're going to go open to the next fret, up the next fret, G is the next fret, G sharp. After G sharp is the open string A sharp or B flat, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp or E flat, E, F, F sharp, G, A flat or G sharp, A, B flat. This is where we don't go to the fourth fret. We go to B, open, C, D, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, and we're going to slide up to A. I will play this as I did with a few other exercises. I will just play this once so you get the idea of how to play this, and then you can practice this with repeats. 1, 2, 3. It's a clever exercise, the way Bill wrote the rhythm, so that you always end on 1 with a new string. Whenever you hit 2 and 3, 4, 5th string, 4th string, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 1, 2. This is another scale that you can add to your repertoire of scales that you can practice slowly, whether you want to do eighth notes repeated or triplets or just steady. The more scales you play, the more you know your instrument, the fretboard, and the better facility you have and the better time that you have when you play it with a metronome. And now we will start with some speed studies. Anything that you practice slowly and trying to get at a faster tempo can be a speed study. You could do any of your scales as technique or speed studies. I guess I would rather call them technique studies. We have 3 patterns here with 3 of the major scales that you have learned. I'll play the first one right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, I'm playing it slowly so that you see the value in playing it legato and slowly and then bringing it up very gradually. And so forth. Here's pattern 2. Key of G. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pattern 3, key of F. Remember, B's are flatted. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can also practice these interchangeably in different keys. If you look at the first pattern, we're doing C, C, D, E, C. Well, in the scale, that's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. So that's in C. You could play this in G as G, A. If you need to write it out, you can, but it's good to figure out what the degrees of the scale these are on. Pattern 2. 1, 3, 2, 1, 2. I could do that in the key of C. And so forth. Pattern 3. This is going up the scale in thirds. I could do this in C. I can do this in G. After a while, you won't have to look at the music. Even if you just take 2 measures. And then do it in F. Key of G. And so forth. We've played C major scale and the relative minor A minor with natural harmonic and melodic minor. We've played G major scale and the relative minor E minor with E natural minor, E harmonic minor, E melodic minor. And now we know the F major scale, so what is the relative minor? D minor. So we're going to play D natural minor, D harmonic minor, and D melodic minor. Here is D natural minor. I will play the scale once for you to hear, and then you can practice it yourself with the repeat. Again. Harmonic minor has that C sharp, and after a while you're going to be hopefully recognizing these scales not just by sight, but by the way they sound. 1, 2, 3, 4. Melodic minor, again going up, raise 6 and 7, B natural and C sharp, and coming down, we're playing C natural and B flat. You notice at the end of that, last measures we're coming down C, D, C, B flat, A, G. And then since we're going back up to the scale, we're playing the A, B natural, C sharp, D. It's really a pull into the octave going up. So that scale again is. Emphasize that C sharp. Here's some more chords. As you have already been told, we're going to play all movable chords from now on. I think the only chord that you haven't gone over in this exercise 1, is the C augmented chord. And that is, if you play the F chord, not that the F that you have listed right in front of you, but just the first 4 strings, and you moved it down 1 string, that means lower 1 string. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to do 2, 3, 4, 5. Different sound. That's your C augmented chord. And from now on, we're going to start talking where the roots are. The augmented chord, the root on this chord, if you're calling it C, can be your lowest note or your top note. I'll go back to this, the root of the augmented chord in a minute. These 4 other chords that we're playing, F chord, we're going to say that the root is the first string, right? F. The B flat chord that you've played before, the root is first finger, 5th string. If this is B flat, this is C. This is D. F7. If I have a choice between root of 6th string or 1st string, since the 6th string is the closest to me, I'll say the root is the 6th string. F7. And C7, the root you can have either on the 2nd string or the 5th string. To me, the 5th string is closer to me looking at. I'm going to say the 5th fifth string. So it's F, B flat, F7, C7, C augmented. Again, talking about the augmented chord, augmented can be either written C augmented, written out augmented, C aug, A-U-G, or C with a plus. And how do we get the augmented chord? It's a major chord with a sharp 5. If we have a C chord, if we sharp the G, we have C augmented, the 5th degree. Just one footnote about the C augmented chord. You will find out, and we will talk about this later, that any of the notes, the way the chord is constructed, any of the notes can be the root of the chord. It could be a C augmented chord, an E augmented chord, a G sharp or A flat augmented chord, and we're back to C. But we'll cover that another time. Here's exercise 1. I will use the repeats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat. Augmented. 1, 2, 3. The Roman numerals are now really important to look at because they will force us to play certain chords in certain places so that we're not going to be always using the same form. Like I said, there are many forms and places to play chords. So every time we learn a new form, we're going to be actually told where to play it so that we're using that form. Now, exercise 2 really is the same exercise, only up a whole step. So we're going to play this. If we played this F chord in the 1st fret, the G chord is going to be in the 3rd fret. No, we're not going to be playing this G. We're going to be playing this. So the first 4 measures of exercise 1, just quickly. Second exercise, everything's the same forms. Okay? Here's exercise 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat. G, G7, C, E flat 7, D. Here is exactly what it is named, an endurance etude. Shall we call it the marathon of etudes that we've played so far? This etude is for picking and also for strengthening the 4th finger. We're going to keep our 4th finger on G throughout this whole piece. Since this etude starts moderate, or moderato, meaning moderate tempo, and then in the 2nd page we have that it is slowly retarding, poco retardando, and then we go to a moderately slow tempo. I am not going to play it with a metronome, but I will work at keeping a steady tempo throughout till I'm told to slow down, and to actually, at the ending, it gets slower and slower. Picking etude number 3, endurance etude. I will do all the repeats, which is actually the first 4 measures, and then it's on. 1, 2, 3. This marks the end of this lesson. We started this lesson back on page 42. And let's review a couple of things. We had an exercise of 16th notes, and then dotted eighth note to a 16th note, and we counted them. One note with this, I would like to say, in the book, we have the counting of 1 and 2 and 3 and Many people count this as 1 and 2 and 3 and you might find that easier to say. From 16th notes, we went to dotted eighth, 16th, and also played that as swing, which would have the triplet feel. Remember, that's the 16th, dotted eighth, 16th. The swing feel is the triplet. From there on, we went over the relative minor to the G major scale, E minor, with the natural, harmonic, and E melodic minor. More chords on page 43. Picking duet on 44. Rhythm accompaniment with movable chord forms. Talking about that. Page 46, we had a speed study. Again, we went back to relative minor scale to now the F major scale, D minor. We learned some more rhythm, movable chords, especially the augmented chord, and then we did this picking etude. And I have to say that this is really a cross-section of what we should be practicing all the time. We have technique studies, we have scale studies, we have chord and harmony studies, we have rhythmic studies, and we have duets, and we have theoretical studies, meaning the relative minor. You may want to, at times, go back and use these categories in practicing review. Pick a scale study, pick a technique study, our picking. Pick a theoretical study, meaning the melodic, harmonic, and natural minor, and pick a duet to play and practice. It's always good to go back and review and see if you could just read through the beginning of the book without really, let's say, practicing it. See what you can recognize.